Okay, here we are for part 2 of our story of how Draco Malfoy saved time, and we just stopped with the Deathly Alliance created the Marauders map and the Pensieve. The Marauders map allowed the Alliance to see what all wizard and muggle kind was up to, and the Pensieve allowed the Deathly Alliance to travel to times which were predicted to create opportunities for wizards to rise up. The next 2 to 3 decades were spent creating alliances with other countries to gain support for the Deathly Alliance, as well as taking out key members of the Wizengamot and the wizarding community to stop the progress of enlightenment. Now, no story would be complete without the good guys too. Don't forget that dark and light will always find balance, and in this story, the Order of the Phoenix is the light to the foil of the Dark Alliance. In 1973, a spry Dumbledore takes office in the Wizengamot and is a dutiful public servant. He joins politics to make sure all wizards and creatures were treated with dignity and respect, and he would do his absolute best to ensure the law reflected this sentiment. But over his time in office, he noticed more and more of the Wizengamot members were sympathetic towards wizarding companies and banks, such as Gringotts, which were finding new ways to keep all of the gold to themselves. And instead of being brushed off by another senior member of the Wizengamot, Dumbledore went to other young, like-minded members and formed the Order of the Phoenix. And over the next several decades, Dumbledore will add more and more and more members to the Order. But because the Dark Alliance saw the Order coming via the Marauders map, Freddie Malfoy's son, Lucius Malfoy, was called up to the big leagues early so he could learn the ropes and take over Malfoy Industries. And where Freddie was calculated, good at reading people and getting them what they wanted in order to form alliances, Lucius was entitled, overly self-assured, narcissistic from a life of never having to live with a consequence. And when Lucius joined Malfoy Industries to learn the ropes of the Dark Alliance, he became somewhat of a mafioso, using the Marauders map and the Pensieve to take out Order members before they were even initiated into the Order of the Phoenix. Lucius didn't have the Time Turner yet, and his father was still in charge of the Alliance and Malfoy Industries. And because of this, Lucius had to do what the Dementors told him to do, and take out who they wanted him to take out. This mafioso life made Lucius even more cold. It taught him to not value other wizards, muggles, even more than before he had started. This caused him to cut over his own business partners along with contractors he used for his day job of building homes and buildings for Malfoy Industries. Lucius used this business to further the Dark Alliance's agenda, to subjugate Muggle-born wizards and Muggles alike. Meanwhile, the Dementors started to create offspring with Death Eaters and purebloods to ensure the Dementor line continues to flourish. In total divine timing, Lucius takes over Malfoy Industries in 1973, just in time for the Order of the Phoenix and the Council of Magical Law to file a lawsuit for Muggle and Muggle-born wizard discrimination within Malfoy Industries. Lucius settled the lawsuit with a 100 million galleon retribution payment, and subsequently urged the Dark Alliance to turn their focus on getting more Death Eaters into the Wizengamot and the Ministry to ensure that they would get away with their plans. This included getting key members of the Deathly Alliance appointed to key ministry positions. Lucius's own sister was appointed to a judgeship in a district magical law court, and later in the Third Circuit Court of Magical Appeals. And these secret appointments and behind-the-curtain dealings happen all throughout the 70s and 80s when the Dark Alliance finally sends Lucius to Bulgaria to make an alliance with their president. When Lucius goes to Bulgaria, he is treated like a king. They lavish him with gifts and compliments and even suggest he run for Minister of Magic. The Bulgarian president had an ulterior motive to mind when dealing with Lucius. The president knew of Lucius's vanity and divine flaw to always boost himself above others, and the president was going to exploit that flaw to his advantage. The president suggests Lucius should be on television and teach what he knows, because he is the wizarding world's best personality, and the president swears people would idolize him. The Bulgarian president agrees to form an alliance with the Death Eaters and the many other world leaders who were in support of the Dark Alliance. But the Bulgarian president had aspirations of his own to become the Grand Wizard of the Dark Alliance and put himself above all others. And he was going to use Lucius's blind spot of vanity to do this. The 80s see one of the Death Eaters ascend to the Minister of Magic position, Cornelius Fudge. And with the help of Quidditch First groups, many laws were passed to protect Quidditch and condemn people who fell into practices outside of the Quidditch lifestyle. Additionally, Fudge started a lot of policies where Fudgeonomics gave large tax cuts to Death Eaters, and instead of investing that money into Hogwarts and wizard livelihood, the Death Eaters kept the wealth for themselves and did not reinvest it into wizard kind. Fudge expands the Marauders map and Pensieve programs to opening classified research projects into researching the mechanics of these programs and devising tests to see if Muggle children could be identified early for having magical abilities. The program developed a drink, elixir, to erase the memories of the children with higher magical promise and removed lingering magic from other children who were not as powerful. A list of the names of children with higher potential was kept for Death Eater recruitment once students reach maturation. Another campaign Fudge established during his administration is the 24-hour daily prophet and thoughts and spells cycles. During the classified investigations into expanding the Marauders map, cloaking wizards found that when the wizarding world is living in a state of fear, it is easier for the people in charge to accomplish the work that they want to get done without the wizarding world understanding or raising suspicion. The final report of this investigation proved that if there was a constant cycle of bad things happening all the time, wizards would live in a constant state of fear and focus on themselves and themselves only. When Fudge's term was done, he was replaced by Rufus Scrimgeour, another Death Eater. But Rufus's purpose was to set up a transitional period of holding the office until a more moldable candidate became available to dictate from the wings. Rufus famously looked like he was cleaning up corruption, but Rufus had a bone to pick with other communities and countries within the Death Eaters' ranks, and he would stop at nothing to invade those countries to knock down these Death Eater members out of prominence in the Dark Alliance, which would come back to haunt the wizarding world in the near future. Likewise, the Dark Alliance invests in technology that could have greatly improved humanity, but when controlled by the Dark Alliance, the tech is used to monitor the wizarding world and slowly make wizards depressed and stagnant. I'll pause there and we'll go to part 3.